Hey everyone, this training is on roof plans. For this particular project, the roof was a hip roof, but I will also get into how to design a gable roof. Now, what we want is the main floor plan that we have designed and have had signed off on by the customer. First things first, we want to take our floor plan block and explode it. All we care about here are the walls themselves, so we are going to go ahead and isolate them and move them off to the side. Turn everything back on. Delete. Some of our hatches have carried over, so we're just going to select sim and deselect any other hatches that may have been selected in that. And we're going to take our walls, put them on layer 0. We can move this back up. Highlight all of your walls, create a block, and label it Roof Ghost. And then we want to select a base point that will be useful to us. So, an exterior wall, I generally like to take the bottom left corner. Alright, now we just want to put this on the above below layer, and we will go through with our bold line and trace the exterior boundaries. Alright, for this project, I have a 30-inch overhang, so we are going to go ahead and take this boundary and offset it at 30 inches. Now, I also have a 30-inch raised ceiling in this living room right here. So we're going to take a new polyline and trace the boundary of this raised portion. Offset it in 5.5. We'll stretch this to the interior wall boundaries. And then include that on your above below layout. Offset 30 inches, extend out there, and we want to take a line up from this eave. And this box right here will be the outline for our raised portion. Alright, the first thing to do when getting into a roof is to figure out what the widest portion of your roof is. And we can do that by going through and measuring what appears to be the widest portion. So here we have 35 feet. But this portion right here could also be a wider portion. But we see here it's a foot shorter. That tells us that this portion here will be the top of our ridge line. Now we just want to take this back, line it up with that exterior boundary. So this line right here represents the top ridge, as can be seen right here, which is also this same line. Now for a hip, your line should always come in on a 45-degree angle and meet up with that ridge line. From there, we can trim off the excess. Now this boundary is no longer important since we already have our roof lines. Now everywhere where we have a jog in the house, we just want to bring up a 45-degree line. Now, generally speaking, we would have another line right here. However, because this portion is raised, these roof lines right here would just extend up into that wall. We don't show them though, we just show them hiding under this roof. Alright, now all of these lines that are on interior corners represent a valley. That means that the roof comes in at that point rather than out, as we would see here where it's an exterior corner. This line is what's referred to as a ridge, same as this one here. Now, everywhere where these lines meet, you would have a new ridge line. So we will just go through and add each of them where they correspond. Whenever you have a situation like this, where you have a ridge line that's formed from both a ridge and a valley, it means that your roof line should turn in direction. In this case, it turns this way, which creates another new ridge line. Now let's take this line as an example for why I trim it off. I trim it because this plane and this plane are opposite planes. All they represent is the slope of the roof on their respective sides. Now, as we can see, this line comes down at the same point that this one does. We can tell that because the external boundaries of both roofs are this right here. This is where we drew our blocks to figure out this initial roof. Alright, so generally when we have a roof like this, we need what's called a cricket. All a cricket does is it takes drainage from this portion of the roof where it's collapsing into this wall, and it pushes it off to either side. Now, just assume that we need a cricket there to drain all the water off. However, we should also take into account how much rise it takes to get this roof on top of this one. And we can do that by checking our roof pitch, which is 212. Now what that means is it takes 6 feet of run in order to get up 1 foot. That is simply because it's a 1:6 ratio rise to run. So if we take this dimension to this exterior corner, we see that we have 7 feet, which means to get on top of this roof here, we would need an additional since it's 2.5 feet, we would need an additional 8. So we come over this way 8 feet. And this point right here is where this roof gets up tall enough to peak above this eave. Now likewise, we need to check the same thing for this other side. You can see here, we have 8'6" of rise, and we have to get 15 feet, of run, but we have to get 15 feet of run in order to get above this eave. So we need an additional 6.5 feet to get past there. Take a line here, offset at 6'6", and these are the 2 points where the roof peaks above this eave. So we can take the line here, 45 it, and 45 it, and this is our new ridge. We're going to take our roof from here, take a roof up from here as well, bring these 45s, converge on that ridge. And there we have our roof layout. Now from here, it's simple. Just need to move this off to the side. Take a hatch. We want it solid. We want the pattern door hatch, and we want to make sure this is set to send it back. Hatch your boundary, and move it back up to your roof plane. Now to annotate the roof plan so that it's useful to builders and engineers, we want to take our arrow block, put it on the annotation layer, and add some text signifying what the slope of our roof is. Then we just want to take this, paste it on every new plane of the roof. And there we have a fully annotated roof plan. Now to get into what this would look like as gables, I'm just going to turn off some of our layers, copy this up, and we'll redo this as a gable roof. Now for the sake of time, I'm not going to go and redraw all of these lines. All we want to do is just simply extend our ridge lines out to our gable ends. In this case, because the roof is coming up on this side rather than being one straight plane, this peak would never happen. Go ahead and delete these, remove that, fill the boundary, and we can trim this off. Now in this situation where we have a double gable end, and we wouldn't be extending this all the way out, we bring a line across from this gable end and attach it to the peak of this front gable. Trim that, trim that. That line wouldn't exist, neither would this one. That's about what your gable plan should look like. Again, we'll move this off to the side, hatch it, and move it back down. Go ahead and take care of this one real quick. Delete this, bring down a line, bring out our ridge. Now we can go ahead and add our annotations throughout. And there we have our roof plan. Takes some time to get used to. You have to be able to visualize how a roof should come together. Otherwise, all the lines can get jumbled and it can be a mess to try to get everything untangled. But once you get the concept of a roof down, it all should come together fairly simply from there.